Alright guys, we are on week 3 of Kaijus 2026. This is a month-long drawing challenge where artists design a giant monster or giant robot every day for the entirety of June. If you're joining us for the very first time, I recommend you check out the other videos in this series before watching this one. In those videos, I explain a little bit more about the challenge, the world and story that I am creating for this challenge, and how you can participate in this year's Kaijus challenge alongside me. But if you're all caught up, let's go ahead and jump right in to look at the 7 new illustrations that I did for this week. And at the end of the video, we're going to have a look at some of our favorite fan submissions from our Unveiled community page. Alright, that's it. I hope you all enjoy week 3 of Kaijus 2026. Day 15. Pugilist. During the War for Mankind, many different weapons were used against the onslaught of the Goliaths. Collaboration between the most brilliant minds of nations all throughout the world yielded technological breakthroughs that would have otherwise taken centuries to develop. Plasma cannons, sonic disruptors, weaponized aircrafts, submersible warships, and, of course, the automatons. Most of these automatons utilized ranged weaponry to safely dispatch Goliaths without risk of the machine becoming damaged. The data shows, however, that automatons designed for hand-to-hand combat proved the most consistently effective. The controversial Ouroboros company developed and released one such automaton called Invictus, and unleashed it against Goliaths during the later days of the war. Unlike many other automatons of the time, Invictus was designed almost like a living thing, with its inner mechanisms functioning like sinew and muscle. Its movements were swift and agile, despite it being over 150 feet tall. Most surprisingly, its artificial intelligence seemed to revel in bloodshed. This patented automaton design has only ever been used by Ouroboros, and Invictus remains one of mankind's greatest weapons against the Goliaths. Day 16. Predator. The Goliaths are not a unified front. Wherever they come from, they do not come with the same objective. Some destroy all in their path, others choose to remain hidden, and some attack other Goliaths. The flying Goliath Valkyr haunts the northernmost coastline of Europe, drifting silently through the air and scanning the land below for prey. Humans, animals, even the occasional automaton are carried off to a great nest on the desolate island of Jan Mayen. What the beast hopes to catch, however, are other Goliaths. Very few Goliaths are capable of flight, and this means that Valkyr can attack from the sky before its prey knows what's coming. If its target fights back, Valkyr will use its singular eye to emit a hypnotic beam of light, able to put almost anything into a trance. The only prey immune to this tactic are the sightless automatons. Attempts have been made to destroy Valkyr's nest, but ships are unable to reach the island without first being spotted and destroyed. While steward manufacturers compete to create a machine capable of flight that is large enough to combat this aerial menace in the sky, accelerationists advocate that Valkyr must be left to its devices, as it is much more effective at killing Goliaths than any automaton. Day 17. Preserved. 5 years after the Janus model automatons were stationed at an oceanic royal off the coast of Alaska, the accelerationists' criticisms of their designs were proved astute. Their ornate armor rusted and decayed within a year, their limited combat functionality proved incapable of adapting to new Goliaths, and their internal programming was prone to malfunctions. The Aegis Initiative waited too long to take any action, despite the glaringly obvious issues. In 5 years' time, only a singular Janus model was left standing, and the Royal was left unguarded. Desperate to salvage what they could, the Aegis Initiative sent a team to retrieve the barely functional automaton. Its malfunctioning program had, for some reason, directed it to abandon its post and take shelter in a large coastal cave. When the team arrived, the defective Janus attacked, killing dozens of men and destroying the other automatons they had brought with them. Engineers still don't understand what went wrong. The automaton seems to be damaged beyond functionality, its power source depleted, yet it still stands, guarding its cave as if it believed this to be its new directive. The area has been made off-limits to the public, and the Aegis Initiative is now spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to ensure that this defective automaton does no further harm to their reputation. Day 18. Artifact. Since the first automaton was invented in 1912, engineers have experimented with a plethora of energy sources to power their machines. Electricity is sometimes used in smaller machines, but requires frequent recharging. Steam was a primary energy source in the first few automaton models, but the engines necessary to produce said steam were heavy and prone to combustion. Some automaton manufacturers have come up with their own patented energy sources. The secretive Ouroboros company uses a highly efficient engine for their automatons powered by something yet undisclosed to the public. Sabotage, corporate espionage, even attempts to destroy Ouroboros' automatons in hopes of reverse engineering their power source have all been unsuccessful. Whatever it is that keeps these unique machines running will likely remain a secret. Before we look at the rest of this week's illustrations, I want to remind you all that if you like my artwork and you'd like to make some artwork that looks like my artwork, you can purchase all of the brushes that I used to create my artwork on our Gumroad. Each of these brushes were custom made by my wife and fellow artist Claire. We've got a bunch of packs to help elevate your work, whether you like painting, line work, or making Fakemon. A purchase from our Gumroad helps support our channel and helps you make artwork like mine. Alright, thank you for letting me shamelessly self-promote. Now we can get back to the video. Day 19. Mystic. There are rifts within both the Steward and the Accelerationist parties. Many who consider themselves stewards see the Goliaths as a manageable, sustainable resource. These opportunistic business folk go to great lengths in order to distance themselves from those in the Steward party who insist the Goliaths must be preserved not because they are profitable, but because they are gods. Extremist Goliath worshippers are highly dangerous, a notable example being the cult of Jeju Island. At the end of the war, an attempt to seal a royal within the Halasan volcano was thwarted by zealots who claimed to serve a dominant Goliath named Euron. Euron would feast on the Goliaths that emerged from the royal, and when there were none to sate its hunger, the cult of Jeju would offer it human sacrifices. Eventually, the royal was successfully sealed. With no Goliaths to feed it, Euron went on a hunger-fueled rampage, consuming everything on the island that moved until Jeju was left a barren wasteland. Euron met its demise when it attempted to swim from its island prison to the mainland, and the Korean military was able to strike it down. Day 20. Reanimated. In 1915, the now-defunct automaton manufacturer Ferris International attempted to weaponize the dead bodies of several slain Goliaths. Using controversial and highly experimental engineering methods, they were able to reanimate the dead body and replace its destroyed limbs with machinery. The resulting product was a disaster. Known only as Chimera, this abomination of steel and flesh was hardly able to walk, let alone fight other Goliaths. It was deployed to combat Nechalda during its rampage through the Arizona territory. Airlifted into the fight, it hit the ground and immediately broke its own legs. Driven not by instinct but by clockwork programming, Chimera continued to follow its directive, pulling itself across the desert towards Nechalda, which seemed at the very most to be immensely confused. Chimera then attempted to fire its arm-mounted artillery, which had so much recoil that it tore itself from Chimera's shoulder. Nechalda all but ignored this would-be foe, but before a team could be sent to salvage what was left of Chimera, the experimental power source provided by Ouroboros spontaneously exploded, obliterating everything in a 600-foot radius and sending Nechalda into a furious rampage. Nothing of Ferris's great experiment remained. Day 21. Temporal. Highly classified documents leaked to the public during the height of the roiling revelry exposed a terrifyingly confusing discovery. While attempting to seal a royal off the southern coast of Japan, a team of accelerationist scientists discovered dozens of what could only be described as juvenile Goliaths. Each one was only 5 feet tall, but they were as ferocious and destructive as their adult forms. The the clutch of offspring was not destroyed, and instead sent off to be researched by Goliath experts from both the accelerationist and steward parties. The findings were inconclusive. Most notably, however, the baby Goliaths seemed to be genetically identical to the now-dead Matakame, implying they were not children, but rather clones. Subjects kept in a shared enclosure would quickly kill and consume one another, and scientists found themselves on a timer to learn what they could while the Goliaths still lived. According to the records, the remaining Goliath offspring vanished from their enclosures without a trace. One scientist suggested that what they had discovered were not clones at all, but multiple versions of the same Goliath that had somehow traveled through time in a bizarre form of temporal natural selection. Alright, so those are the illustrations that I made this week. Now, let's have a look at some of our favorite fan submissions from our Unveil community page. First off, we have this wonderfully uplifting Goliath, or should I say Neomorph, designed by user Bun of the Bean for Day 18 Artifact. They wrote this to accompany their submission. Tourists and locals alike come to the Cinders Vale Ancient History Museum. It's one of the most beautiful and rich of the region. Though recently, a new face has been seen entertaining and showing guests around. Opalescence is an eel-like neomorph who's taken residence in the museum because of its unique array of shiny artifacts. She's been much more of a help than a hindrance, and she is now considered family by the museum staff. Next up, a somewhat chilling illustration done by user InkMageJJJ for Day 17's prompt, Preserved. In addition to their artwork, they also wrote this lore that I'm choosing to include in the official Roiling Revelry canon. Thought to be just a newly discovered prehistoric creature, the entire study changed when near the bones was discovered what appeared to be a similar mask to that of a modern Goliath. Perhaps they've been crossing over far longer than we supposed. A design that's somewhere between terrifying and beautiful was submitted for Day 10, Abyss, by user GoozeJam. They wrote this lore to accompany their piece. What do you do when your enemy is lying under your feet, yet you cannot do anything about it? Many would express that same concern after readings revealed a strange, massive Goliath lying in the depths of the Mariana Trench. Now known by scientists as Ignix, this Goliath seems to not pose any real danger given its current location, as well as its behavior. This Goliath resembles a combination of an anemone mixed with that of a flower. It contains a strange orange center surrounded by a cluster of petal-like appendages being held together by a mass of tentacles that dig into the earth. So far, it only seems to silently billow in the water, emitting a strange, constant glow which, due to circumstances, has not been properly studied. Here's a very uncanny automaton design created for Day 11, Psychic, and done by user Grody Gary. They included a brief description of their creation. It emits a sonic disruption proven to harm kaiju. The frequency is so low that only kaiju can hear it, and it can only be felt by humans. It is unsafe to use it in the immediate proximity of human settlements. Finally, we have this amazing atmospheric piece done by user Ember Bite for Day 17 of the challenge. There's no written lore to accompany this piece, but I think the artist did an excellent job telling a story through their illustration. Immerse yourself in the world of this piece and let your imagination fill in the gaps of the story unfolding therein. With that, we conclude another week of Kaijus 2026. I hope you all enjoyed my work from this week and the work done by our amazing fans. Remember, if you want to take a closer look at my illustrations, or if you want to peruse the entire breadth of the Kaijus 2026 challenge, click the link in the description to check out our Unveil community page. Making an Unveil is free and easy, and it's a great way to share your artwork and connect with other artists. A big thank you to our Patreon supporters and channel members. You guys make challenges like this possible. Happy Kaijus, everyone. I'll see you all in the next video.